These fingers have seen some things. My kids like to ask a lot of questions, weren't really questions, and since I am #hip with the youth, here goes nothing. What the Sigma? Because brain rot is having two major effects on our lives: a generational disconnect and literal brain rot. First, a disconnect between generations. Adam Alexic, a brain rot historian, said it on the Power User podcast, June 13th, 2024. The rise of brain rot is no different than the rise of any other slang from the past, but the internet has caused faster rising trends that parents just can't keep up with. My mom still works from home. Get to the damn office, girl. Parents.com on January 10th, 2025 continues. While older generations may interpret the use of slang as defiance or disrespect, they are actually just tools to help younger generations become stronger collaborators. For example, all of my campers used to call me sus or zesty. And I had to tell them, guys, you're mispronouncing it. It's fat. Laming homosexual. Next, brain rot might be causing your brains to rot. Forbes of June 18, 2024 explores how through overuse of social media, your brain slowly starts to lose some of its necessary capacities, quite literally rotting your mind. Our brains are being compared to bananas for shelf life, and rotten bananas can make a tasty treat. I don't want to know about your brain. But don't worry, if the idea of your brain rotting scares you, you are not alone. Wired on June 10, 2024 revealed, Russian authorities were called by a concerned parent to investigate, as the experts are calling it, skibbity toilet syndrome. Crazy, right? But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure some of my campers had that. Or maybe that was the cooties. My camp had a complete ban on screens, and every day a parent would say to me, Max, my kids are addicted and their brains are rotting, and how do I get them to stop? First off, do not speak to me like that. But don't worry, let's examine some implications. The exploitation of dissociation and the misappropriation of different cultures. First, the exploitation of dissociation. The University of Washington on April 28, 2024 explored normative dissociation online, explaining when scrolling, people are more prone to dissociate, experiencing a loss of willful choice and self-awareness. Which is probably why every time I scroll on TikTok, I end up buying a chamoy pickle kit. The Internet Policy Review on February 6, 2024 continues, introducing dark patterns, or tricks used in websites and apps to make you do something you didn't mean to do, like buying or signing up for something. Social media groups are utilizing these dark patterns in collaboration with brain rot and trends to exploit people of all ages. Whether it's old people on gift card scams, kids having to listen to PragerU, or the prints that I've been exclusive with on WhatsApp. Companies are utilizing these practices on you, whether you like it or not. Next, the misappropriation of different cultures. The International Trademark Association on December 12, 2021 defines cultural misappropriation as cultural fixtures of a marginalized group being commodified by a dominant culture. Think straight extempers doing a prose. The Prague Institute of January 15, 2025 continues, introducing African American Vernacular English, or AAVE, which is a dialect created by Black people in the United States that has its own unique grammatical structure and vocabulary. The Straits Times on December 29, 2024 puts it best. Many brain rot terms were directly taken from AAVE. So, call the Rizzler what the Rizzler is. A colonizer. While it may be unknowing, people throwing in period sis or work the boots house down actively separates AAVE from its speakers, further harming Black and other diverse communities. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm already really deep into the Baby Gronk and the Be Done lore. I mean, he's 12 and has D1 offers. And she's a D1 gymnast that's 22 years old. Oh my God, that is disgusting. Today, we learned what brain rot is, explored the disastrous effects, and examined some implications. My fate this summer in the devilish reaches of the YMCA has already been sealed. But hopefully we can work together to solve this brain rot phenomenon and skibbity save ourselves once and for all.
Thank you so much, Max. Our next speaker is going to be presenting, again, still staying in our genre of public address, a communication analysis speech. What communication analysis does is it will take a communication artifact, basically anything that is communicating a message. Our speaker then has selected an academic model through which to better understand that communication artifact. I promise it's going to be way more entertaining than that description. Please welcome our next speaker, Braden Hopkins.
On August 19th, 2024, Algerian boxer Amain Khalif made history for her country as their first Olympic gold medalist in women's boxing. However, Khalif received international attention well before her victory from speculations on her gender. AP News on August 9, 2024 explains, controversy erupted after Amain Khalif beat Italy's Angela Carini in less than a minute. Soon, media outlets began accusing Khalif of competing as a transgender woman, fueling social media to engage in a transvestigation. GLAD explains, transvestigations are rooted in a hate-driven conspiracy theory, maliciously targeting cisgender public figures and investigating fake pseudoscientific evidence confirming they are transgender. Considering Amain Khalif's status as a cisgender woman, we must ask, how does the transvestigation of Algerian boxer Amain Khalif rhetorically exercise gender essentialist constructions? To answer, we'll turn to Jennifer Earle's The Penis Police, lesbian and feminist spaces, trans women, and the maintenance of the sex-gender sexuality system. This model proves ideal for our analysis because it explores how concepts determining gender utilize a distinctly patriarchal framework to maintain gender essentialism. We'll first explore Jennifer Earle's model, then apply it to the transvestigation of Amain Khalif before finally drawing implications. Because, as GLAD furthers, transvestigations serve as a warning sign on how transphobic hate impacts everyone, trans and cis women alike. Jennifer Earle outlines the modes salon feminist writers of the newsletter Women's Words use to determine gender, painting cis women as vulnerable and those assigned male at birth as predatory through three tenets: biological determinations, public narratives, and imagined scenarios. First, biological determinations. Earle explains, even before trans women attempted to enter the space, biology-based determinations perpetuated ideas on who was a woman through an exclusionary feminism. Among members of Women's Words, these biological determinations were made by officially nominated penis police, who would scour submissions to the newsletter for images of men. These biological determinations painted trans women as heterosexual cis men in dresses, seeking membership for nefarious purposes. Second, public narratives. Earle explains, members drew on public narratives that conflated body with gender, so that the penis became a symbol for the patriarchy, male socialization, and unwanted heterosexuality. Further, these public narratives justified actors such as the penis police, cementing ideas that those assigned male at birth are helpless in their socialization to commit violence. These narratives, narratives situated cis women as weak and nurturing, reinforcing gender essentialism through a strict male-female binary. Third, imagined scenarios. Earls explains, members of women's words often determine gender through imagined interactions. These imagined interactions centered cis women's imagined scenarios with trans women, with one women's word submitter evoking the imaginary scenario of bathroom assault, rousing potential dangers of integrated interaction, and subsequently painting women as victims in need of protection. Now that we've analyzed Earl's model, let's apply it to the transvestigation of Algerian boxer Amain Khalif. First, biological determinations. On August 3rd, 2024, the far-right anti-trans hate website Redux shared a tweet stating, "The European Vice President of the World Boxing Organization has come forward to confirm that Amain Khalif is male." The evidence? High levels of testosterone. Researchers at the National Institute of Health explain this is a common condition called hypoandrogenism. Just like the penis police, Redux used biological determinations to make sweeping claims about Amain Khalif's gender identity, fulfilling our first tenet. Second, public narratives. Following the match, trans exclusionary radical feminists, or TERFs, were quick to situate Khalif's opponent, Karini, as a victim. J.K. Rowling tweeted on August 1st, 2024, "Watch this and tell me why you're okay with a man beating a woman in public for your entertainment. This is men reveling in their power over women." In addition to misgendering Khalif, this narrative painted men as inherently violent, reinforcing gender essentialism and fulfilling our second tenet. Third, imagined scenarios. Following the match, an AI-generated poster portraying Khalif as a two-horned bodybuilding-esque monster and opponent Karini as a petite, feminine woman began circulating online. This cartoonish depiction soon went viral on social media, fueling trans allegations and leading Amain Khalif to file multiple cyberbullying probes and lawsuits. The utilization of manufactured evidence to reinforce existing gender hierarchies fulfills our final tenet. Now we've applied our model to the transvestigation of Amain Khalif, let's return to our research question. How does the transvestigation of Algerian boxer Amain Khalif rhetorically exercise gender essentialist constructions? The transvestigation of Amain Khalif upholds gender as natural, immutable, and discrete. Princeton professor Stats Atwood articulates, essentialist beliefs are associated with less support for cisgender women, lower endorsements for gender equality, and fewer opportunities for women in sports. This bad-faced defense of female athletes leads us to two implications: the myth of biological sex and the resurgence of fascist rhetoric. First, our gender essentialist constructions upholds the myth of biological sex. Scientific American on May 3rd, 2023 explains, the biology behind sex is extremely complicated, and there's sometimes no easy way to draw a line between the biologically male and female. Chromosomes, genitalia, and hormone levels. Biological factors determining gender can vary widely, leaving millions of people in ambiguity. TERFs make sweeping claims on what constitutes as female, mainly the presence of a vagina or even a uterus. Reducing women to their reproductive organs only further contributes to the benevolent sexism that psychologist Susan T. Fisk explains, posits women as weak and reliant on protection from men, so long as they conform to the heteronormative gender roles and expressions. Next, the gender essentialist foundation behind transvestigations mimics fascist rhetoric. Following mass waves of economic uncertainty after World War II, Nazi propaganda stoked fear among Germans for individuals outside of the defined national community. Just 15 years later, Nazi soldiers burned the contents of the Institute for Sexual Research, destroying all existing literature on LGBTQ+ degenerates. Presently, the United States continues to use transgender people as scapegoats. During the 2023 CPAC conference, Daily Wire host Michael Knowles utilized genocidal language to state, transgender people must be eradicated from the public life entirely. And in 2025, President Donald Trump's executive orders have systematically erased transgender people from the National Institute of Health and National Science Foundation's public-facing databases. In a fascist state, all who do not conform are at risk. We analyzed Jennifer Earle's model, applied it to the transvestigation of Amin Khalif, and drew implications. Following ongoing legal battles, Khalif wrote, "I will fight in the ring, I will fight in the courts, and I will continue to fight in the public eye until the truth is undeniable." Following her example, regardless of sex assigned at birth and rejecting gender essentialist definitions, we too must fight for every woman.
Thank you so very much, Brayden. We're going to shift gears away from public address and into the genre of oral interpretation of literature. Our next speaker, Sabrina, will be performing a prose interpretation. What they have done with this work is they've taken a longer work that was not meant to be performed and edited it down for a 10-minute performance. So they will be using a black book, not because they don't have it memorized, but because the black book is supposed to represent the use of someone else's words. So please help me in welcoming Sabrina Richard.
When Magda says, "I want to be with you forever," she might also mean, "Marry me," or "I'm leaving you," or "Please turn down the air conditioning, I'm cold." Magda's hair is cut short, dyed black. She wears tank tops and skirts long as well-lived lives. When Magda says, "I love you," with an impossible fire, I know. She could have just as easily said, "I'm bored with you," or "Leave me alone," or "I want to be with you forever." Later, when Magda actually says, "Marry me," her words feel infinite and dangerous. Because I know that that question, regardless of my response, will birth a myriad of alternate universes. In many of these universes, we'll be wed and be together forever. In some, one of us befalls an unspeakable tragedy. In a few, our lives together are hard. We learn that love doesn't put food on the table or pay the bills. In some universes, Magda and I have never even met. And in one or two universes, nothing happens because Magda laughs and says she was just kidding. But right now, Magda is lying beside me in bed. And she says, "I'm serious. Marry me." And I do not answer her. The relationship building process for non-binary people is dangerous. Writer Jessica Klein notes in their June of 2022 BBC article, "Dating can be a minefield for anyone looking for partnership. But for those who identify as non-binary, there are even more obstacles, often invisible to those who don't identify the same." When non-binary individuals navigating sharing their identity often struggle through a lack of understanding from prospective partners. This fear and uncertainty can cause us to sever connections. When there are infinite universes and infinite possibilities of acceptance, or rejection. Trans storytelling gives us the opportunity to explore our narratives in abstract ways. While many may not understand the trans experience in this story, we can all understand the experience of uncertainty in the relationship building process. Be afraid, for there are many universes that want to take me away from you, by James Brubaker. Magda says, you can't avoid answering me because you're afraid of creating alternate universes with new timelines. I say, creating a single universe, let alone a billion, it's a big responsibility. We should take our time. Magda says, I need you to worry about this universe. I am worried about this universe, and I am, because some posit these alternate universes are parallel to our own. These people believe they branch off regardless of degree of difference and divergent actions in those crucial moments. Decisions or actions as small as running a yellow light, or whether or not to take that last sip of coffee, cold at the bottom of the mug, or the way one chooses to style their hair. These decisions can and likely will result in the creation of new universes that are near identical save for minor variations. How did he brush his hair? Did he run that yellow light? Now, I suspect the amount of space required to house these alternate universes, let's call this the universal domain, has to be limited. As new universes are created, they're often bumping up against or compressing each other. And as many of these universes are wildly different, the number of universes that are near identical, save for minor variations, are far greater in number and take up just as much space. And I find it troubling that we would pollute the universal domain with every little decision we insist upon making. The truth is, I find this idea utterly terrifying. At night, when I'm trying to fall asleep, I can feel the weight of my universe, our universe, closing in around me, displacing the air I'm trying to breathe. I can feel the weight of what must be a virtually infinite series of choices and their outcomes closing in around me, weighing on my chest. And when I sleep, I dream of my doppelgangers, their failures and misdeeds. In at least one universe, I am a beast of a man, violence personified. I'm a destroyer of lives. In one universe, I'm a murderer. In one universe, I'm a famous painter. In one universe, I have these dreams about dead sheep, but then in another universe, I am the sheep. I've explained all of this and this to Magda before. She understands the theory, but not my concerns. Magda's only worried about the things happening in this universe, but I know better. When I try to explain the things I'm thinking to Magda, instead of answering her marriage proposal, she says, I love you with an impossible fire, or I'm bored with you, or be here with me now, or you can't go the rest of your life without making a decision. So make this one. For the record, in this universe, she said that last one. Magda is right. I can't go the rest of my life without making a decision, and even if I could, what good would it do? There would still be an incomprehensible number of people and an incomprehensible number of universes making an incomprehensible number of decisions, crowding the universal domain until everything around us just buckles, breaks. And I want to tell every person I see to just stop making decisions. I want to tell every version of every person, every universe to just stop. I can't do this. I can't do this. Even refusing a decision to Magda's proposal is a decision that will birth a billion universes. I remain silent. Magda gets out of bed, puts on her clothes, and leaves. I remain silent. Magda gets out of bed, puts on her clothes, and leaves forever. I remain silent, and Magda gets out of bed, puts on her clothes, and goes to the kitchen for a glass of water. I say, not right now, but someday. And Magda curls her body towards mine, and we fall asleep. I say, not right now, but someday. And Magda says, I have waited long enough. Gets out of bed, puts on her clothes, and leaves. I say yes, and Magda kisses me. I say yes, and Magda's eyes grow wide, and she pulls away from me. I say no, and Magda seems relieved. Curls her body towards mine, and we fall asleep. But in this universe, I remain silent, and Magda remains silent, and we stare at the ceiling. Our indecision crowding the universal domain with every version of this unresolved moment. In many of these universes, Magda will not be so patient. And in many of these universes, I will be so afraid. I say yes.
Thank you so very much, Sabrina. We're going to shift back over to a public address event, this time persuasive speaking. What our next speaker has done is selected a topic that is very personal and something that she is very passionate about. And so she is going to be providing her own advocacy and also some solutions that, if you are so inclined, you can also engage within this round as well. So if we could please welcome Mackenzie Ormond.
Beverlyn Garcia Barrios showed up to Woodhull Medical Center in September of 2024 complaining of stomach pain and nausea during her pregnancy. She was then examined by medical staff and immediately sent back home, being told her symptoms would go away soon. 3 days later, Beverlyn was back in Woodhull's emergency room, yet her symptoms had worsened. And by the next day, Beverlyn was dead, making her the third Black woman to die from a pregnancy-related condition at Woodhull's Medical Center since 2020. The New York Times, October 25th, 2024 shares, in New York City, more than 20 women each year are likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause, but the racial disparities are stark. This injustice isn't just happening in New York. The CDC on May 3rd, 2024 reveals, in 2023 alone, for every 100,000 childbirths, 34 pregnant individuals died. However, the maternal mortality rate for Black women is far worse. The Kaiser family on October 3rd, 2024 shares, Black women are 3.5 times more likely to die during childbirth in comparison to their white counterparts. And considering the Commonwealth Fund on June 4th, 2024, found that 80% of these pregnancy-related deaths among the Black community were preventable. We must examine the causes, effects, and solutions to the high maternal mortality rate among Black women in the U.S. Because, as Reagan McDonald Mosley, Chief Medical Director for Planned Parenthood, states, there is something inherently wrong with our system that isn't valuing the lives of Black women equally to white women. According to Nelson Ramirez, Beverlyn's boyfriend, the visit to Woodhull Medical Center was stressful considering the fact Beverlyn did not speak English and the translator the hospital provided failed to correctly convey her symptoms, leading to inadequate medical care. This shows two causes: healthcare biases and lack of diverse representation. First, the birthing inequalities Black women face are not new, can actually be traced back to the 19th century. The Equal Justice Initiative on January 9, 2023 encourages us to rethink the legacy of Dr. J. Marion Sims, a white physician coined the father of gynecology, yet his work included conducting painful experiments on enslaved Black women without anesthesia or consent. These roots can still be seen in modern medicine today. The United Nations analysis published in July of 2023 notes, medical school curriculums still contain erroneous claims that Black women's nerve endings are less sensitive. Therefore, they require less anesthesia. Harmful, false teachings like these automatically put Black women at a disadvantage, leading to worse healthcare outcomes and needless deaths. Secondly, when there's a lack of diversity, it contributes to the disparities Black women face. A study done by the Kaiser Family Foundation, published on April 7, 2024, found that 1 in 3 Black women have had at least one negative experience with a white physician in the past. They report pervasive experiences, such as dismissive attitudes and inadequate pain management. This isn't surprising, considering the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists on September 15, 2024, found that only 11% of all OBGYNs are Black. When there's an increase in diversity, there's an increase in cultural competency, and it eliminates implicit bias. But when there's a lack of diversity, Black women are the ones that suffer the most. April Valentine walked into Centinela Medical Hospital in Inglewood, California, but she never walked out again. April suffered from a blood clot due to a misadministered epidural. By the time doctors had realized their mistake, April went into cardiac arrest and didn't survive childbirth. This shows two effects. Black women are being put at fatal risk before and after childbirth. First, Black women are being put at risk before childbirth. The Rochester Regional Health Institute on April 11, 2023 shares, Black women are 60% more likely to suffer from preeclampsia, a serious medical condition marked by high blood pressure that can lead to organ damage, swelling, even death if left untreated. Since Black women are already faced with systemic risk and worse healthcare outcomes, childbirth shifts from a natural experience to one of stress and immense worry. Midwife Victoria Buchanan recounts a common phrase she hears from Black patients under her care. "Oh, I just don't want to die." Olympic athlete Tori Bobie's fate met this reality. Tori Bobie was a healthy 32-year-old Olympic sprinter until she developed preeclampsia, went into preterm labor, and was found dead in her home. No woman is immune to the harshness of childbirth while being Black in America. Secondly, these risks are continuing after birth, with most deaths being reported in the postpartum period. The World Health Organization on August 26, 2024, finds that 75% of these deaths are from infection or severe bleeding, two preventable situations. This proves that there's a need for systemic changes. Shalon Irving, epidemiologist for the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, focused primarily on research surrounding the Black maternal health crisis. Until she became one of the statistics she was studying. 3 weeks after giving birth, Irving suffered from postpartum complications and died. There must be a change to keep our sisters, wives, aunts from dying. When April Valentine's partner finally spoke out about her death, he stated, "I can't even sleep. I can't even look at our child after experiencing what I saw that night. I was the one who gave her CPR while they watched her lay there and die." Too many Black families experience this tragic reality, and it's time we make a change. There are two solutions. We confront misinformation, and we provide Black women with doulas. First, we must address the misinformation surrounding Black bodies in medical schools. And thankfully, work is already being done. March of Dimes, a nonprofit initiative focused on improving maternal and infant health care through education, research, and advocacy, has created implicit bias training titled Awareness to Action that provides authentic content for maternal health care providers to address before, during, and after pregnancy. The California Preterm Labor Initiative explains, since 2019, California, Illinois, New York, Delaware, Oregon, and Washington have all enacted laws mandating implicit bias training for all maternal health care providers. So let's continue momentum. I've created a link tree where you can find ways to donate to initiatives, but also ways you can access free implicit bias training to take yourself. Even if you're not a healthcare provider, you can still use this training to identify any implicit bias that may happen in your own workplace environment. This training is not to cure all, but it is a step in the right direction to tearing down a system that harms us the most. And finally, we must provide Black women with broader access to doulas. Doulas provide services for pregnant individuals that consist of emotional support, knowledge, and better communication within healthcare team. The Journal of Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities on October 25th, 2024 shares, Black women under Black doula care are 39% less likely to suffer from complications. However, 80% of doulas are white. Although they try everything they can, there are some things they just cannot understand. Thankfully, organizations like the Black Doula Project and Black Women Birth Justice are working hard to fund and expand the Black doula experience for Black families all across America. If you scan this QR code, you'll be taken to my link tree, where you can find ways to donate to their initiatives, but also ways you can become a doula yourself. The process is simple and can take up to a year. By supporting these initiatives, hopefully, we can bridge the gap between the white and Black maternal health care experience. Both Beverly Garcia Barrios and April Valentine's stories highlight the ongoing fight to protect Black women throughout the childbirth process. Their families want their stories to be shared, pushing for them to be heard all across the world. Honoring their legacy, protecting the lives of other Black women is why we discuss the causes, effects, and solutions to the high maternal mortality rate among Black women in the US. We can't fix what happened to them, but hopefully, with systemic changes, Black women can give birth in a world to no more fear.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Our next speaker is going to be performing another oral interpretation of literature event. This time, it will be a poetry interpretation. What our performer has done is they've selected multiple pieces of poetry and they've woven them together around a central theme. Again, they'll be using the Black Book, but please join me in welcoming Jaden Kennedy.
Thank you, Ben. And then before I begin, for everyone, I do want to issue a content warning. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's basically kind of saying there's something thematically strong in my piece. So I am going to give a content warning for depictions of guns and guns in schools. So if anyone at any point feels uncomfortable, please feel free to leave the live, leave the room, distract yourself, do whatever you need. One, an object in motion will continue to stay in motion. Your blood travels 1,806 miles a day, braving 60,000 miles of circulation to cause the rise and fall of your chest in the morning. The universe will continue to move without your consent. So breathe. I'm sorry. I am not bulletproof. I cannot jump tall ignorance in a single bound. I can't stand in front of a classroom of 30 people and give them all my undivided attention, all at once. Reasons that I, a teacher, should not have a gun in my classroom. 1, there are children in my classroom. 2, There are children in my classroom. Welcome back. Today's headline comes after a harrowing decision by the state legislature, which will now allow I knew after watching the news that morning that the conversation was inevitable. The setting, an emergency school assembly, the only urgency, the beats of my own heart. The microphone screeches as our leader declares we're safe now. Your teachers, protectors, have been encouraged to carry guns. I've never even touched a gun. For 160 seconds, we have not moved from this stage. You have not moved from your seats, but our hearts have beat 223 times. You have inhaled 188 stirs of air. The earth has spun 52 miles. We are moving. Even we choose not to. Teachers have become the first line of defense, and it's only a matter of time until they're the next wave of martyrs. The United States Concealed Carry Association on May 10, 2024 affirms 32 states have now enacted teacher carry laws, putting teachers in the direct line of fire, having to do what our government won't. Protect us. The mental, emotional, and psychological toll of guns is deadly, but grows tenfold when an entire classroom of students depends on your ability to pull the trigger. From deplorable salaries to structural limitations, the American classroom has become a war zone, and we've all become collateral. So using the poetry Desensitized by Anonymous, Movement by Minor Disturbance, I Am Not a Hero Teacher by Steven Springer, and reasons that I, a teacher, should not have a gun in my class by Brendan Gillen. I'll call to action. If anyone in this room is a past, current, or future educator and feels comfortable, would you please raise your hand? This is for you. For your bravery in the face of the realities I'll soon face in my own classroom. Thank you. Up in the air, it's a bird, it's a plane! But it's certainly not a teacher. Because we can't fly! I am not a hero teacher. I need time to work on my lesson plans, to read the individual student plans, to call parents to force equals mass times acceleration. A 150-gram ball traveling at 2,000 feet per second exudes 3,032 pounds per square inch upon impact. 3. I don't want a gun in my classroom. 4. I lose track of things pretty easily. Sometimes I'll put down a marker mid-sentence and then spend the next 5 minutes looking for it while ad-libbing to make it look like I know what I'm doing. Point being is I lose things pretty easily, but a marker can't shoot anyone. 5. I need more markers. So spend money on those. Thanks. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're expecting a superhero, a pew pew, a pew pew, a mew mew, then I'm bound to disappoint. And that does seem to be what so many of you are expecting us to be. I mean, things are so screwed up that we need someone with superpowers to swoop in and save the day. Our leader says, don't fear. Your protectors will undergo training if they choose to a snicker. I meet the gaze of one of my students' subordinates. He smiles. 3. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. A hummingbird vibrates its wings 68 times per second just to be still. Have you ever seen a hummingbird move without purpose? Move without 6! The most secure place in my classroom is a cabinet with a shitty combo lock on it. 7, my desk is always a mess, easy to lose things on it. 8, gun never stays lost for long. As I approach a meeting after the assembly, my leader declares that a drill will take place today. He says not to tell the subordinates and to let their fear fuel my desire to protect. 9, I'm not a good shot. So after falling from taking the first bullet, the intruder can simply take the gun from my dead hands and turn it onto my students' tip. There are students in my classroom, my support students sit in silence working diligently. When code red, the school has now been put on lockdown. My heart drops as adrenaline kicks in. I go and lock the door and I turn out the lights and I hurl my kids into the corner of the classroom and I go to grab my gun. Fuck! I get my gun and all their eyes seem to gravitate towards my hand, asking, is this a drill? 11. My classroom is supposed to be a safe space. 12. Guns are designed to kill people. 13. Guns are designed to kill people. 14. There are people in my classroom. I hear gunshots and screams in the hallway. This isn't a drill. Do you see that window? If something happens, I need you to go and run, okay? Don't worry about me. If something happens, I need you to run. I need you to run. The climax is one of the most anticipated parts of every performance. Rather than use mine to depict the devastation we've all grown much too familiar with, I've chosen to use my climax as a plea. I've created a handout with a QR code linking directly to petitions, resources, and other grassroots efforts that we can all get involved with. Thoughts and prayers don't prevent classrooms from becoming caskets, but through our collective action, change can happen. The future is depending on us. I'm sorry. I'm just a teacher. But they aren't just students. Those are my kids. And I can't solve all the world's social problems, but I do help make the future better. And that is why I do what I do.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Thank you.
For our final event this evening, I know it's gone by so quickly. Our final event is going to be the genre of limited preparation speaking. So our next speaker actually has no idea what he's going to be talking about. To do so, James, get out of here. And then you all are going to be helping come up with what he's going to talk about this evening. We'll invite you back in here in just a few. For impromptu speaking, we typically use a quotation as the prompt. Wait till the doors close here. And so for you all, what is a quotation that you might want to hear on this evening? So yesterday we had Eminem. Before that we had Fortnite. Was that correct? We've had everything from Shakespeare to Cardi B. And so any quotations that you all would like to hear this evening?
I have one.
Okay?
Because what I'm about to do to Bob, doodle Bob. Me hoi hoi me noi. And erase this square. By anonymous.
By anonymous. Because what I'm about to doodle Bob, I'm about to doodle Bob.
No, what I'm about to do to Bob,
What I'm about to do to Bob,
doodle Bob.
doodle Bob.
Me hoi me noi.
Me
And
hoi
erase
me
this
noi.
square.
I'm going to have you say that again here in a little bit. So we have one option. All right, do we have another one? Yes.
My Mount Rushmore is me with 4 different expressions. By Drake.
By Drake. Maggie really wants Drake to happen. All right, so my Mount Rushmore is me with 4 different faces. Expressions. By Drake, okay. Do we have another one?
You are who you are.
You are who you are. By? You want to share your name?
Elias Bell.
Elias Bell. Great. You are who you are by Elias Bell. I like this. This is great. Another one.
I was bored, so I ruined dinner. Tiffany Pollard.
I was bored, so I ruined dinner. Tiffany Pollard. Okay. Do we have one more? As a reminder of our options, we've got ahoy, ahoy, chips ahoy. No, can you say it one more time?
Yes, because what I'm about to do to Bob, doodle Bob. Me hoi me noi. And erase this square.
By anonymous.
By anonymous.
All right, so we've got that as an option. Maggie?
My Mount Rushmore is me with 4 different expressions.
By Drake. Fantastic. We've got Elias Bell's.
You are who you are.
You are who you are. And then what was our last one? Great.
I was bored, so I ruined dinner. Tiffany Pollard.
Great. So we've got 4 options here. Each of you gets to vote once. And so our first one up,
Oh, doodle. I was gonna say doodle Bob.
Doodle Bob. How many want to hear Doodle Bob? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So our next one was Drake. How many want to hear Drake? Oh, goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. The next one was You Are Who You Are. 1, 2, okay, fantastic. It loses, but fantastic. Okay. All right. And then we have I Was Bored, So I Ruined It. Or Ruined Dinner. All right, sounds like we're going to have Drake then. So, Maggie, if you wouldn't mind writing down your quotation. As Maggie is writing down the quotation, the way this is going to work is I'll invite in our speaker. I'll give him 15 seconds to read the quotation, and then I'll give him prep. He has 7 minutes in total to both construct and deliver his speech. So while he is prepping, he'll take approximately about 1 minute 30. So if y'all wouldn't mind being quiet as he gathers his thoughts, and once Maggie gets done with her calligraphy.
I'm just making sure it's real.
Then we'll get started.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. 40 to 51.
Oh my God, I said I wanted to get to be alleviated before I have my drive.
Thank you so much. All right. Please welcome our next speaker, James Simpson. So I'll give you 15 seconds to read the prompt. I'll let you know when that's elapsed and prep begins. I'll give you 30-second verbals for your prep. This is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute left. 30 seconds, 15. I'll give you the last 5.
Cool. All right, we good?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Flipping now.
That's 15. Prep begins.
30 seconds. One minute.
Will Still is a Belgian football coach coaching the French team Lens, and he has a unique coaching background. He hasn't coached a lot of actual sports, but instead has played a lot of the video game 2001 Pro Football Manager. So when he got hired, everyone was skeptical of his video game skills would transfer over, but he believed in himself. In implementing skills he learned from the video game, he turned his team from a bottom feeder to a top contender. This idea that we must embrace our own self-belief and confidence that can be seen in today's quotation by Drake. My Mount Rushmore is me with 4 different expressions. What we can interpret from this is that Drake's Mount Rushmore, his most important thing in his life, is seeing himself surrounded on all sides. And we can agree with this, arguing we must express total self-confidence. We can see this through 2 areas of analysis. How, first, we often try to be overly humble, but instead, most push past every doubt. First, we try to be overly humble, saying that maybe my Mount Rushmore may have me on it, but there's got to be someone else on there too. But this mindset, saying that we may not be the best at our own activities, leads to us not believing we can succeed. And we can see this through 2 examples. Chuck Wepner and the googly eye Vandal. But first, Chuck Wepner was a professional boxer in the 1970s, known by the name of the Bayonne Bleeder. He wasn't known for winning fights, but instead would go in, put on a good show, and give the audience what they came for. Except for one night, when he managed to knock down Muhammad Ali, inspiring the movie Rocky to be made. He was offered a role in the production, but he didn't have any confidence that he could tell his life story as accurately as he wanted to. So he turned down the role, meaning the movie that was based on his own life. He received nothing out of it. He was too humble and didn't believe in himself that he could succeed in this new role and turned it down before he got the opportunity. But we can also see this through the googly eye Vandal. In the town of Bend, Oregon, there is a lot of statues that have suddenly gotten new features, with googly eyes being glued on to all of them. The community wants to underplay this accomplishment, saying it's not a huge deal, it's just glued on eyeballs. But it's been a huge boost to the city. However, the city council also wants to treat this as a small feat, and they've begun removing the eyes from all of the statues, meaning the tourist attraction that once existed in the city is disappearing because people thought it wasn't that big of a deal. While putting googly eyes on a statue doesn't sound that exciting, for the town of Bend, Oregon, it turned around their tourism market. And by treating it as nothing and removing the eyes, all of those tourists have dried up. So, through the examples of Chuck Wepner and the googly eye Vandal, we understand that when we are overly humble and don't believe in ourselves, it often leads to our success falling away from us. So instead, we must surround ourselves with ourselves on all angles and push past any self-doubt that exists. We can see this through 2 examples, the cat savior and Laverne Beiser. But first, the cat savior. In 2006, Gary Roisin was experiencing some health problems and got a cat to help cope with the problems he was dealing with. He also wanted to train the cat to call 911 in case he ever fell from his wheelchair and was unable to get back up. The cat at first did not take to the training, but he kept pushing, saying that he knew his cat could be the savior he needed. So one day, when 911 got a call with nothing but meows on the other side, the only person who wasn't surprised was Gary. He had complete confidence in his ability to train his cat, and it saved his life. We can also see this through Laverne Beiser. Laverne Beiser is 105 years old and tracks his life through solar eclipses. He's currently seen 20, and this summer in Texas, he wanted to go see his probable last solar eclipse. At first, many of his family said that was a stupid idea, that he can't measure his life through how many solar eclipses he's seen. But he pushed past it, even telling his own daughter that she needed to get married on a different day because he wouldn't be there. He'd be witnessing a solar eclipse. But this mindset worked out. And this summer, when visiting his probable last solar eclipse, he brought his whole family and community along with him. He pushed past all of their doubts, and in doing so, was able to share his passions. So, through the examples of the cat savior and Laverne Beiser, we understand that we push past any doubt that is put upon us, we can succeed. So, returning to today's quotation by Drake, my Mount Rushmore is made with 4 different expressions. We understood that we must have total self-confidence in ourselves. We saw this through first, how we often try to be overly humble and doubt our abilities, but instead must push past all doubts that come up. So, Will still could have told everyone that they were right. He had no skill. But by pushing past, he turned his team around for the better.
Thank you so very much, James. Thank you so very much to all of our performers tonight. And most importantly, thank you so very much to all of you in here, out there. We finally got the technology working, so thank you for joining us. If you are here for extra credit for my courses, this is probably the part you want the most. If you will come down and take a selfie with this and then upload it to the submission link on Blackboard, you'll get your extra credit for this evening. Again, thank you all so very much, and roll Tide. All right, have a good night.